Hey, hey, hey. Hey, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Please bear with us. Oh, hey. Hi. Good morning, everybody. How y'all doing today? Y'all, can I just tell y'all something? I know every time we come to this event, I always have emotions to bring to y'all, but that's just the vibe, so I'm sorry about it, but not. Can I just tell y'all that when you do events, any of you who do events, you do all of this work, like inviting people and social media and the newsletter, but when you actually walk in and see people in here for real, it feels like magic. It just feels like you sent some messages into the air like smoke, and somebody saw it somehow and came here. So thank you for coming this morning. Give yourselves a hand. Some of y'all might be like, but who is this? Okay, hi, I'm Amena Brown. I am what is called the chapter host for Creative Mornings Atlanta, which means I am over a team of wonderful volunteers that do this event every month. So welcome. If it's your first time, let me see. If it's your first time to Creative Mornings ever. Yes, first timers. Yes, we love to see it. Welcome, welcome. We want to thank some of our partners today. I want to give a special shout out to Hot Coffee for providing our coffee this morning. Did y'all enjoy coffee? Don't y'all enjoy getting caffeinated in the morning? I mean, please. It's very wild to me that Creative Mornings was started for creative people because the morning time is not really it's not really my time. I know a few of you are like that, but I'm more of a mid-morning. My husband was actually making fun of me the other day because he was like, you know how they'll be like early to bed, early to rise? I'm like early to bed, mid-morning. Like, I don't know. So thank you, Hot Coffee. Hot Coffee is a Black-owned coffee company. Please visit their newly opened location, which is called Bankhead Coffee Bar. It's at the corner of North Side and Donald Lee Hollowell. They are a West Side coffee shop serving premium single origin Ethiopian, Central, and South American coffee. That's for my coffee connoisseurs in the building. So make sure you visit their website. That's lovehotcoffee.com and follow them at Love Hot Coffee. Also, did y'all enjoy those donuts though? Yes. Shout out to Five Daughters Bakery. They have 2 locations, Pond City Market and West Side Provision. So you could get more donuts if that's a life that you want to live, okay? Now, Creative Mornings Atlanta is one of over 200 chapters around the world. So if you're not familiar with Creative Mornings, we're not just doing this here. People all over the world are exploring the same theme that we are. We always are on a global theme each month. So we're here and people are in Chicago, they're in Brazil, they're in Budapest, they're in London, all over the world talking about this same theme. So shout out to that. This month, our theme is touch. If you want to know how difficult it is to write copy for an event, this theme is that. Explore touch with us. It just sounds weird, like a little bit. But we all know in our creative work, touch is really important. For some of us, that's how things affect our emotions or how we want people to feel about a brand, about a piece of art, about dance, right? About the things we make. For some of us, it's about the final touches we put on things, right? Those of you who are graphic designers in the room, the things that you want to make sure are put together right there at the end. Those of us who are editors and in writing, we have so many ways that we physically are putting physical touches on things. And we want people to be touched by what we make. So we're exploring that theme today, which I think is going to be a lot of fun. Okay, I also want to thank some people. I want to thank MailChimp. MailChimp, we have a very wonderful relationship with MailChimp because MailChimp is the global partner for Creative Mornings, which means they support all chapters around the world, but they are also our local partner because they are located here. So we get their support double, even more than other chapters do. So shout out to MailChimp. Okay, each year MailChimp shares a valuable annual benchmark report. This report is full of insights if you work for an agency or are freelance. Take a few minutes to fill out a survey there on MailChimp.com so that they can use even some of your information to give us some more research there, right? And also, Creative Mornings Atlanta, people find out through word of mouth. It's not just pigeons, okay? It's you. So if you have a great time this month, please, please tell your friends, friends, bring your friend. We have this event 10 times a year, so we are every month, February through November. We would love to see you, and we have some really big announcements. I can't wait to tell you. Okay, let's also thank some local partners. We don't just have global partners, we have local businesses here in Atlanta that support us. So I want to first of all give a big shout out to Robert Half in the building. Robert Half is a talent agency. You may have seen their table out there. Some of us are looking for jobs, okay? You're looking for jobs, whether temporary or full-time. Robert Half is a place you can go to there. They are offering contract, temporary, and permanent placement solutions. And this is across industry, y'all. So this is finance, accounting, technology, marketing, creative, legal, administrative, and customer support. They are named Fortune World's Most Admired Companies and one of the 100 best companies to work for. So check out roberthalf.com. And if you didn't get a chance to see them, follow them on social media as well. Also, I want to thank our local partner, Off the Record. If you've seen any of our videos since 2021, Off the Record has been our video partner, and they make it look crispy. Give a hand for them, okay? They making us look good out here and professional, okay? You too can use the services of Off the Record for a fee. Please go to offtherecord.com. Fantastic content creation and storytelling studio, also Latina owned, and we love to see it. Give a hand for that. Yes, okay. Now I'm really excited to actually bring back an artist to our stage. Those of you who are following us virtually, our artist today, Moksha Rao, has actually been with us a couple of times. She performed for us virtually when we were all at home on Zoom. She also was the facilitator for one of our evening events as well. Moksha is an award-winning designer and dancer. You may have seen her places such as Atlanta Dogwood Festival, Art on the Beltline, Magnolia Fine Arts Festival, 1,000 Things. Moksha holds an MFA in graphic design. I love people who can do graphic design and also dance. I mean, it's amazing. And her job is that she works as a product designer at the Weather Channel. Today, Moksha, in honor of the theme Touch, will perform a piece titled Brahma's Dance. In Indian mythology, Brahma is considered the creator of the universe. All creation emits from his touch. This piece is choreographed by Moksha, and the music is composed by Agam, an Indian progressive rock band. Show your love to Moksha Rao.
कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पद आनशृण्वन्नोदिभिः सीदसादनम् गणानां त्वा गणपतिगुं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पद आनशृण्वन्नोदिभिः सीदसादनम् गणानां त्वा गणपतिगुं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पद आनशृण्वन्नोदिभिः सीदसादनम् महेश्वर गुरु साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः.
Thank you, Moksha. Oh my goodness. Give a hand for Moksha Rao. Yes. Oh, that was fantastic. Love it. You can follow Moksha at Moksha Rao, and you could see Moksha other places. You know, you could check that out. Thank you so much, Moksha. So beautiful. Oh my gosh, I have 1,000 things, and I'm so like in my feelings about your performance, Moksha. I love it. Okay, so those of you who in here are my OG Creative Mornings people? Are there any people who were attending Creative Mornings before the pandemic started? Okay, OG people. Yeah, I love to see that. Okay, well, for those of you who aren't aware, we are doing things a little bit differently now. So instead of having 10 morning events, we actually have 5 morning events and 5 evening events, and they alternate, right? So you're here in the morning now, but in March, we will have our event in the evening, and that event is called Creative After Hours. So that event is different than this in the sense that instead of you coming to hear someone talk about a creative thing, you get to do a creative thing in the evening. So I'm happy to announce to you that our next event is Thursday, March 30th. It will be at Be Nice House, which is on Edgewood over there near Old Fourth Ward Distillery and Slutty Vegan, right? They are going to be our Creative After Hours venue partner. So all of our evening events will be there. And drum roll, please. Our theme is corruption. We will be doing a found objects art workshop with Black Cat Tips. Yes. If you're not familiar with Black Cat Tips, he is a fabulous visual artist here in Atlanta. So we'll get a chance to see how items that may seem like they're corrupted can also be used to make art. So these are all free things as usual. So please stay tuned to our social media and newsletter so that you can come and get a chance to make a thing. Black Cat Tips is really excited. I did tell him that I thought maybe the event could be called Black Cat Tips and Sips. I mean, doesn't it have a nice rhyme? I feel like he only gave me a very small chuckle, which means I'm not sure if he liked it. But we're just gonna try. So we would love to see you. Thursday, March 30th is our next event. We also wanna give a big thank you to Plywood Place. Give a hand for welcoming us here today. Oh my goodness. As you can see, Plywood Place also has this event space, but you can also come here and co-work as well. So you should definitely look into that if you are not familiar with Plywood Place. Plywood Place is an entrepreneurial training center where ideas are shaped, stories are experienced, where mentoring transpires, and where people find community. And listen, I had heard a rumor that Plywood is offering free day passes for co-working today to Creative Mornings attendees. So make sure you get one on your way out. Don't forget, because I know y'all love free stuff. That's why you here, right? You literally love free stuff. So don't forget about that. And make sure you check out plywoodpeople.com and follow them at Plywood People on all social media. Okay. Are you ready for our speaker? So excited about our speaker today. As we talked about, our theme is touch. And we thought, what wouldn't be even just amazing to have a hat maker here to talk to us about the power of touch and creativity. So I want y'all to welcome hat maker, entrepreneur, founder of B.M. Franklin and Company, Brandon Franklin. Okay, switch. We in there. We do a little dance. I want to check and make sure we can hear you.
Check, check. Hello.
All right, we in there. Brandon and I are going to be in conversation. I'm going to ask him a few questions, and then we're going to open up the floor to you all to get some questions from you as well. So, Brandon, I love to start with, what is your Atlanta origin story? Because I feel we all have what brought us here. Some of us were born and raised here. Some of us came here for college. Some of us, it was a job. I've met some people that it was somebody they were dating, and then they broke up, and they were like, oh, well, I'm here now. So talk to us about what it was that brought you to Atlanta.
Well, simply put, it was COVID. COVID brought me to Atlanta because the city that I was in, which was New York, was just completely shut down, and I wasn't. Hey, baby. I wasn't completely, that's my newest hat maker, by the way. So if you hear her making noise, she's probably, just telling me not to be as nervous right now. But Atlanta, we had an opportunity to come down here and open up a pop-up shop initially. And, once we got in touch and, talks with Jamestown, who is our property manager, they were like, you know what, come down, come check the place out. And it started in June of 2020. So June of 2020, I'm in the middle of just hot boy summer in New York. Everything is fantastic. We do to-go drinks. It's amazing. And then October hits, and they're like, everything's about to be shut back down. And I was like, perfect, because I'm going down to Atlanta. So we get down to Buckhead Village, September 23rd, and as soon as we make the left onto Far Road from Piedmont, it's a party. And I'm like, wow, this is awesome, but also kind of scary. Right. I miss being inside and talking to people and just ordering a beer and being a normal person. So anyways, it took about 5 days for me to, jump back into the Fidos of the lives. And we opened our doors October 2020, and within the first couple of weeks, we were like, we're staying. I'm not going anywhere. We'll try to keep New York open, but New York City just really wasn't doing anything for creatives or small businesses. It was people still had their hands out for rent, and we weren't legally allowed to do business. So Atlanta embraced us. The city embraced us, the people down here, the community, and we started to build. So I told myself, and also I told my my then not pregnant wife, we're not going back. And she went back, and I begged her to then come back once I was like, this is about to blow up, and everything that I've been working for is now starting to, be realized. And 2.5 years in, we have another store over at Pond City Market that we just opened up, a little 400 square foot depot, and we just finished renovations at our Buckhead place, and loving life, and like I said, thank you. So. Atlanta's our home. Atlanta's our home. It's, like I said, it's just the creative community here is amazing. The cost of doing business is incredible. It's not all about the money. It's about the culture. It's about what you bring here as a creative, as a small business. And like I said, just, the city takes care of you. Now, not crapping on New York or anything, but, New York is just like, pay me. I don't care. figure it out, or you're going to go into debt. Yeah. So, yeah.
Talk to us about what it was that made you want to go into hat making, because some people would say, I wouldn't say a lost art, but I would say it's an art that sort of has to be learned sometimes in an apprentice kind of way. It's something very personal that you're actually doing here with your hands. So what inspired you to say, this is the business I want to start?
So it all started with a little company called Ralph Lauren. Has anybody ever heard of Ralph Lauren? Worked at Ralph. I did everything from sales to visual merchandising to design. And once I got into design, I was like, this sucks. I wasn't making as much as I was making on the sales floor or the visual merchandising floor, but it gave me a little bit of, I guess, corporate insight, even though I was a coffee runner. but that just kind of, opened up my mind to want to create. So after I left, I just went in search for, something a little bit more hands-on. So I took a couple of shirt-making apprenticeships, and that was like wax on, wax off. And I'm like, I don't have the time to do this. So, he's like, you're probably not going to ever cut a piece of fabric for like 3 or 4 years. This old Napolitan guy. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that either. So, I kind of went in search for something else a little different, meaning I was bartending and door manning for a while, which, every creative in New York kind of has to do just to pay the bills and keep the lights on, unless you live with 15 roommates or on the street. So I just so happened to meet the owner of one of the oldest hat shops in New York. His name is Orlando Palacios, and he was the owner and head designer of Worth & Worth. And Worth & Worth was a hat shop that started in 1922, and they were just the hat shop to be at in New York, Chicago, and also Boston. They had a place. So once I came on, I basically was just like, okay, boss. And he was a great guy, but just wasn't really, hip on the internet. He liked to do stuff analog. And I'm like, okay, we need to fix this website. Also, let's just tell people that we're the only shop in New York right now at the point making pieces on site. Other places, old hat shops were just buying stuff from other factories and, selling their Borsalinos and selling venerable brands and crafts that weren't made right there on the premises. So I got there and I was like, dude, this is golden. This is amazing. So I basically forced my way into a position there. I started sweeping. I started just showing up. And this is before I had to go to work as a bartender. So I'd be there from like 9 to 3, and I'm just like, okay, you need this, you need this, you need this. And I was just like, and now you have to pay me because this is bull. So anyways, I worked my way up from forcing my way into a position to forcing my way to working 6 days a week for about 4 years, which is not sustainable. So 2014, I decided to leave. I got to Worth & Worth in 2009, and like I said, just fell in love with the craft. He started off carving blocks, so I got the history of blocks. I got the history of hat making. I fell in love with just the history of Worth & Worth. I used to go to the public library with my fleet of interns, and we would look up old newspaper articles and, find out information about this company that not even he knew, because again, he's running a business. He doesn't have time to go look at old newspapers. So I fell in love with everything, and then 2014 hit, and I was like, I think I could do this by myself, and it's going to be an easy segue, and it was not. I went back to bartending. And I did that for a couple of years, and then I went full-time in 2017 once I found a space in Tribeca, which is about the size of this carpet. But we made it work, and like I said, it's just been it's been a constant constant learning, I guess, wheel, if you will, from learning how to run a business to figuring out how to run a business as a creative, and making everything from scratch is, in some people's heads, not the most sustainable way to create and run a business. But I'm a stubborn Scorpio, so can't tell me nothing.
Okay. You saying stubborn and Scorpio together did give me a vibe.
That's good. Okay. Sometimes it scares people.
Yeah, it did give me a vibe. Putting them together made me go, I see that. I can see that. Okay. When we talk about the idea of touch, one of the things that I think is interesting that I'd love to hear from you about is the idea that when we have sort of a path that our life or our career ends up on, there are other people that sort of are touches along the way that give us wisdom or give us inspiration or sometimes show us the things we know we don't want to do. Who are some of those people that you would say have had really important touch points on your journey as an entrepreneur and as a creative?
Well, showing us things that we don't want to do. There's one specific person, and like I said, I keep mentioning her, but she's 16 months old, so that's one person that, But no, I would definitely say my old boss, Orlando Palacios, being someone who not only mentored me, but he also gave me, as I like to say, he gave me the keys to the car, and that's when I was stoked to work 6 days a week and have 4 days off a month, and I was 20-something back then, so I had the stamina to do it. Now I would die, and I do it for myself now, so forget it. But he's definitely someone who, not only gave me the confidence to be a creative, but just his example every day, the trust that he did have in me. Even though he didn't knight me when I wanted to go start my own thing, it was still that, that was a lesson in itself,
Yeah.
So that's definitely one person as the cornerstone of why I'm doing this and why I know how to do this and why I've continued to just, push and progress and, try to teach this and pass this on to not only just my child, but the people who work with me and the people who have the confidence enough in me to, be their leader. Definitely another person, my wife, who came down here kicking and screaming. She is one of our biggest supporters and helped us us really lift off of the ground here as a business. You know, it's hard to stay organized when there's tons of, you know, details and fabrics and bills flying around. So yeah, and then there's, you know, just a community of people down here. You know, one very special person who I want to shout out. His name is Adam Crawford. He's actually in the crowd right over there. He owns an amazing gallery called Cat Eye Creative, and you know, we met like the first week I was down here through a mutual friend of ours who's another person. His name's Miles Daniels. We call him the connector. He's like the connector guy. But you know, we connected, and we've done, you know, countless collaborations at his gallery, which is over on Mitchell Street. He's come up to our shop and, you know, has painted a hat in a window for our grand opening. Like, we've just done tons of stuff. And like I said, the creative community here in this city is definitely amazing, upcoming, young, fresh, collaborative, and most importantly, professional. Yeah.
Love to see that. Can you talk about making pivots during the pandemic? Because I think a lot of us experienced that, I had many friends that experienced maybe they were getting laid off from a job or realizing they hated the job they were in once they were home and in that lockdown period. Some people realized they wanted to change careers. I think we all experienced, even internally, a lot of thoughts about what we really wanted our life to be, and were we living that life actually? Were we doing the creative work we wanted to do? What were some of the lessons you learned having to do a pretty big pivot in your business and deciding to change location and needing to come to a place where you could, you know, build additional community and customer base here? Share some of that journey for those people that may still be in that transition period right now.
So yeah, I mean, the pivot was definitely coming down here and, you know, focusing on opportunity. So I'm a big proponent of, like, you know, we all have the ability to create our own opportunity instead of waiting for it to come knocking at our doors. So, you know, when I couldn't legally do business, you know, I was honestly sneaking into my shop. I was on the train 0 dark 30 with a helmet on and all this other crap. Like, you know, it was New York again, so everything is like, oh, it's in the air. So I started just basically taking a bunch of fabric from my space. I also had a bunch of elastics, so I got into the mask business, and we started hustling masks out of, you know, my now wife's apartment. I got her involved, I got her roommate involved, I got her cousin involved, and we're like, literally just, it was like 100 masks a day, and we would work from like 10 to 10, and then we would play Parcheesi and get drunk for the rest of the night. But at least we were making money, you know what I mean? And all the, you know, throughout this whole time, like, that's when we got the call to come down here in June to, you know, do a walkthrough of our current space in Buckhead. And I was like, this is dope, but where the heck is everybody? So even though I heard it was, you know, kind of a little bit of a party, it was raining the whole day. So we didn't see not a soul on the street. I'm like, this is, all right, what am I getting into? But you know what? I'm gonna blindly jump into it because it is an opportunity. So as far as just like the pivot, it's just, you know, I just, you know, had no choice. I've always been a hustler. I call pivots hustles, essentially. You know, that's what we call them in Brooklyn. Slight nod to Brooklyn, anybody from Brooklyn. But yeah, it was, you know, having confidence in yourself, sitting back, and, you know, the pandemic just quieted everything down. You know, like, the noise was just silent, so I had time to think. I had time to intently go after what I wanted to do, you know, because like I said, there was, yeah, social media and all that other stuff was crazy, but if you actually took the time to step away from that and look at yourself in the mirror and say, okay, what am I good at? What do I like? Not even what are you good at? What's my passion? What do I want to do? You know, and even though hats weren't, like, people weren't buying hats like crazy during the pandemic, I still had a duty to myself to continue to just create, you know, and like I said, the masks were, we created an opportunity, and we were, you know, thank God I had that fabric, because if I didn't, I'd be with everybody else who was waiting for China to get it delivered. But you know, again, confidence, faith, and intent, you know, are 3 of the things that definitely helped me, you know, gain the confidence to, you know, continue to hustle or pivot, if you will.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I love that. We're going to get into final touches because this is an actual BM Franklin and Company hat you're looking at here. So we're going to get into final touches, but for those of us who aren't familiar with the hat making process, can you describe, like, okay, a customer reaches out, says they want a hat from you. How's the process go from that to something like this?
So it really for us, like we like to get to know who you are as a person. I can sit here and look at your face and judge your features, but I want to get to know what your lifestyle is. You know what I mean? Are you casual? Are you dressy? Like what you do when your wife's not home or your husband's not home? That kind of nitty gritty, because those are the details that I'm going to come up with creatively to incorporate into your piece. It's also, where do you live? What's the climate like? So again, like I said, the technical stuff, which is boring, I already know. Like, you're not going to have a high crown. You're not going to have a super wide brim unless you want a super wide brim because your hair. So it's all these types of interviews. We like to get to know you, you know what I'm saying? Instead of just trying to like, hey, I think this will look good on you. Let's put this on your head. Like, we want to sit down and get to know, again, who you are as a person, who you are as a creative, if you are creative, and then also educate you too, through that interview, if you will. I'm educating you on like what type of fur felt you're going to go with, what weight of fur felt you're going to go with, how wide of a brim, what are the details, and I mean, when it comes to this place that we see behind us, it's like Pandora's box. It's, when it comes to fabric and stuff, it's so unorganized, but that's the beauty of it as well. It's just like, here's a box, pick through it, I'll be back. But yeah, those are one of those things. Again, I encourage people to put their own touches on things. So I encourage people to bring old scarves. If you have a grandfather or great-grandfather that has an old tie or something, if you have something that you haven't worn, let's repurpose it, and also in the breadth of sustainability, it's just, these pieces we don't make to just be thrown away and thrown in the closet. Like, I want you to wear it. And if you're not going to wear it, I'm going to take it back. No, I won't do that.
So talk to us about the final touches. You've described to us like you talk with the customer, you get a vibe for them. That's a bit of a collaborative process. And then you have the actual material that the hat would be made out of, and we've got to talk about brim size and height and all those things. What are the final touches that for you really make the hat? I mean, as a poet, I would say what makes the poem sing at the end to me. It's like, what are the things that I get the poem to a place where it sings? So for you, what are the final things you do when you look at the hat and you're like, what are the things I need to do to make sure it sings when I hand it to the customer?
So this is actually a client's hat. I won't mention that person because y'all might go Google him and judge him based off of what you see here. But anyways, so what really makes the piece sing, I mean, aside from the bullet that's on the side here, that meant something to him because he was ex-military, but the lining on the inside of people's hats, it's a very basic type of detail, if you will, but this is something that not everybody sees. This is almost like a secret to you. Like, that there's something hot and sexy underneath of your hat, or something that's like, again, an old scarf from someone who might have passed, or an old scarf or something that reminds you of something that happened in your specific life, and then also we took this lining and we wrapped it around the base here just to tie things in, and then of course you can see his initials here. But this beaver, I recommended to him because he's like, I work outside a lot, I hate carrying an umbrella, and I feel like I look like the Grim Reaper when I wear my raincoat and the hood. So I'm just like, okay, let's give you beaver fur felt, which is one of the strongest, most durable, weatherproof fur felts out there. It's also super soft, so he likes nice stuff. And then when it came to all the other details, like I said, I just threw a box at him and let him pick, let him go crazy. But yeah, that detail that I would say that makes, the piece sing is definitely that piece that not everybody can see. It's the inside that sings to your heart,
I love it. I love that. Okay, tell us for final question, then I want to open up the floor. So if you have a question burning in your heart, think about it so that we can make sure we ask your question. We often are thinking about how location inspires us and influences us. And you had your time in New York that was very inspiring to you. And then your business changed location. How would you say Atlanta has influenced your business or changed some of the ways you may have created before? And how do you hope to see hat making overall and your business grow while you're here?
Well, yeah, I mean, this city it's a much calmer hustle, if you will. I've said this to multiple people. I feel like you're in so much more control over your pace here. Like, you can either get crazy and wound up and fill your schedule with stuff, or you can chill and relax. When it comes to living in a city like New York or even Los Angeles or even Chicago, you're kind of a slave to the pace. So no matter if you make $1 million or not $1 million, if you still have to take Fifth Avenue and somebody got hit, like everybody is, you're kind of a slave to the rhythm, a slave to the pace. New York is also just pounding compounding. When it comes here, there's space to create. There's people who you're creating around who also feel the same way, so they don't have that just crazy energy, if you will, which, you know, sometimes I already have that, so I don't need to be surrounded by it a lot of times. It just kind of makes me want to crawl into a hole. But, you know, like I said, it's the space, it's the weather, it's the sun, it's the history, it's the trees, it's nature, it's, you know, all that stuff that contributes to just feeling good is here, you know, and again, like, I feel like I'm crapping on New York here, guys, so sorry, but, you know, whenever you wanted to get out of the city, it's like a big to-do, you know, if you wanted to go upstate or to the woods, you know, the park sometimes would do it on the weekends, you know, but then as soon as you leave that park, you're like, back in the concrete jungle, you know. But if you were going upstate, it's like, all right, y'all, who's gonna rent the car? Who's gonna rent the Airbnb? Who's gonna get what are we gonna do? And it just becomes like a massive freaking thing. Whereas here, you know, also you have cars here. Like, you know, I traded my Metro card in for a Georgia driver's license, so I'm very excited about that too. You could just hop in and bounce and be like at waterfalls in 15 minutes, you know? And for me, like, nature is one of those, it's kind of like cleansing things. If things are just winding up, renovations, you know, new location, new staff, like all this stuff is just happening at once. Like, I can just go and reset, and that'll be 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours maybe, you know, that you get to spend the time there. So, and that's kind of, again, like I said, where I draw my creative energy from is nature, trees, sun, that type of stuff.
Yeah. Love that. Does anybody have any questions for our speaker right now? Yes. And I'll repeat your question so that everybody can hear it too.
What's going on?
Your creative process and how you do with the customer. So I have a clothing company that started off as a consultancy. So we didn't start off as natural makers, and we had to learn how to make it. We had to learn fabrics. So stuff that you think is fly, as the person who understands that, like you understand. How do you balance a customer that just their first time, they don't really know fabric, they have their idea, and then you have yours. This is a business, so you got to please the customer. How do you find this balance between what the customer wants and then what you really know in your mind is like, nah, this is fly. I think you know, like,
Yeah. No.
It's a great question. So the question is, how do you navigate with a customer when they may have an idea of something they want that, I'm going to put words into Bame's question, but that you might know is going to be ugly? Right? Like,
I just don't put my label on it.
like,
I'm joking.
you might know it's going to be ugly, or you might know they have an idea that the fabrics are not actually going to go together like they think. How do you navigate that with, as a business owner, needing to your point, Bame, needing to try and do the best you can to make sure the customer feels like they're getting what they want from it, but you also want to honor your own creative process and your art? How do you navigate that?
I tell people that it's made by another hat maker. No, I'm joking. No, so it really all starts with education. You know, you educate people, you let them chew on that. If they're super stubborn, then you just throw the book at them. Let them go with whatever they want. You know, I mean, I definitely try to listen to people as much as possible. You know, the whole thing is, I've heard this from a couple other people, like, if you know people, you know business. Like, you have to know people, you have to be able to converse with people, you have to be able to try to convince them, but some people there's no convincing. So as long as they have as much education as possible, and you make, like, for me, I take the ergonomic route, you know, so these pieces are definitely something that's, you know, cosmetic, they're beautiful, you know, goes with your outfit, but this is also something I tell people, like, even if it's a straw piece, like, you're gonna get sun protection off of this. You know, this here is gonna be your wearable umbrella, you know what I'm saying? So it's gonna be, you can wear this in the rain, sleet, snow, hail, you know, so think about that as opposed to, and I also try to preach wearability, you know, because I would love for you to have 365 of my pieces, you know, we're lit if that happens, but the chances are of those people wearing or not wearing, let's say half of those pieces, is pretty high, you know. And personally, because I'm the maker of it, these are like my children sometimes. Like, I don't want them to sit in someone's closet dusty, you know, just because somebody came and they were like, yo, I had a great experience. I know. So it's education, it's teaching ergonomics, and just listening, because a lot of times some people will talk themselves out of a design. That's happened multiple times too. It's like you just sit back and you just let them talk to themselves. Or like I said, just tell people that you didn't make it.
Got a question up here, yeah. So the question is, how do you balance your creative process with the potential scalability? It's a great question.
Yeah, so, you know, the rabbit and the hare, the hare and the turtle, right? The rabbit and the hare. The turtle and the rabbit. Slow and steady wins the race. I personally think that retail is starting to move more in the direction of experience than it is just a product. Like even luxury retail, you know, nobody really wants to just go into Dior anymore and get handed a cheap glass of champagne as a thank you for spending $10,000 on a t-shirt, you know. People want to come in, like I always say, our product is secondary, our experience is number one. And as we continue to just strive with that, you know, people as far, you know, in different creative processes, whether it be glass, whether it be hats, whether it be custom clothing, whether it be custom shoes, people would much rather want to spend that extra dime or that extra dollar on something like that. So I do think in time, experiential retail will take over big box retail, as we're watching them just kind of bite the dust. You know, your Bed Bath & Beyonds and all that other stuff. I'm sorry if anybody works for them or loves them, but it is a challenge, I would say that for sure. It's definitely a challenge to find people who want to make stuff, you know, and just not have that instant gratification. But like I said, I definitely think that retail in general, especially for us creatives, you know, whether it be online retail, it's definitely starting to trend towards the experiential side. And once that happens, then, you know, we can prove to the people who have all the money to invest in us, right? I hope so. Any investors in the crowd?
Let's start here. What you got?
Hi, nice job.
Hi.
What is the timeline for something like this? If I come into your store and I'm like, I want a hat, I don't know anything about this. When do I walk out with the actual?
Okay, question is, what is the timeline for hat creation?
So for us, it's about 4 to 5 weeks from start to finish, unless you find something that's on the wall that you absolutely love, because we do have a whole ready-to-wear collection that's there, and that's definitely where I try to push my staff to sell people, like sell these hats that are made. But those are also pieces that can be tweaked. So a lot of people will come in and find something they absolutely love and fall in love with, and I'm like, okay, this is amazing, but this was an interpretation of what, let's say, Brandon wanted to create or what Woodrow wanted to create. So now let's take it and tweak it and make it yours. And that's kind of this new concept that we're testing out over at our new Pond City location. It's a little bit more of a condensed custom experience, if you will. So you come in, you pick your shape, okay? And that's basically us helping you to say, oh, this is what's going to work best with your face, your features, your lifestyle. Pick your color, pick your banding, and then pick your trinkets, and then boom, you're out the door. So that is about maybe, you know, a pick your thing and wait process, or pick it and come back in an hour process, if you will. The Buckhead location, I call that, like, that's the nest, that's Pandora's box. So, you know, you come there, you spend some time, you know, I give you a little bit of whiskey or whatever your poison is, and, you know, we sit and design and have a good time, and then 5 weeks later, your beautiful piece is ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, that's great. Did I miss any over here? Yeah, what you got?
As a former New Yorker, I want you to know that you made a wonderful choice.
Yeah, they brainwash us.
As a mom who started her family here, you've made the right choice up there as well.
Woo!
Tell me about the stories that you hear. Like, tell us about the most interesting story.
You sure?
Sip that glass of whiskey with one of your customers, because I think you wove a wonderful story of your craft and how you came to be here in the ATL. But you know, you probably have people pouring out
Question is, what is one of your favorite stories you've heard in working with a customer?
I got to pull through the Rolodex now. There's a lot. There was a woman who came in and had me make a hat for her cat. Do I need to elaborate on that or no? Okay. Sworn me to secrecy. Meet me I'll show you afterwards. There was, yeah, it wouldn't fit. No. No, I've had a couple people come in, and actually this beautiful woman, her name is Terry, and this most recent piece that she came in, and it was a piece that she dedicated to her son. So definitely a tear-jerking piece. Like it was, I think her son had passed, and she brought a piece of his clothing to incorporate in the piece, and instead of putting his name and stitching his name on the piece, we ended up, one of his, I think, favorite animals is like a elephant or a dinosaur or something. So we ended up, branding her piece with symbols that would just kind of touch her. And she had me crying in that place, man. She was just like, this is from my son. And I'm like touching, somebody who's deceased's clothing. And I'm like, this is crazy. No pressure on this. So I told the kids, I was like, I got this one, guys. Don't worry about it. But yeah, that was definitely a touching one. The funnest, like I said, was the cat. And then a couple of shows we've had the privilege of making stuff for. Doom Patrol is one, and we had made this just crazy costume beat up kind of like top hat thing. That was cool. And then also working with the costume crew from Dynasty. They had us make little fascinator cocktail hats, and they brought us a bunch of inspiration. So they brought us maybe 5 or 6 different fascinators from these amazing, crazy, famous milliners from around the world. One of them happened to be Philip Tracy. And also with costume designers on shows that are that big, sometimes they have a tendency to forget where they left the stuff. So I basically inherited a bunch of amazing, very expensive fascinators. That I proudly admit, no, I didn't make that, but it is for sale. Oh, yeah.
That's hilarious. Eric, I think you had a question in the back. And before Eric talks, this reminds me that I need to give a big shout out to Scratch Out Loud this morning. If y'all got to experience the beginnings of you learning how to DJ out there. So before Eric speaks, I want y'all to know that Scratch Out Loud can do this for you for a little date night. You can take a little boo and have a longer time where y'all can pick out records together. You can take a friend. You can take somebody that's a friend that you hope gonna be a boo. It's a lot of options for that. So please make sure you check out @Scratch Out Loud on social media. But yes, Eric, you had a question. What you got? Question is, has your creative process changed since being here in Atlanta versus what your creative process was in New York?
Oh yeah, definitely. Our colors are brighter. The New York uniform, the universal color is black. So it's how many different ways can I freak a black hat? And that's actually why I hate a black hat. People are like, oh, what black? And I try to sell them outside of it. And going back to what you were saying, it's sometimes I catch myself not convincing someone not to buy a piece from me, and I'm just I need to relax. But yeah, it definitely has. It's opened up. Our demographic has expanded. I mean, our demographic was always what it was in New York, but there was also a lot of people who couldn't find us just because of the rat race that they're always in, whether it be going to work and coming from work, and then all of a sudden the only day that anybody has to go out is a Saturday, and then we get flooded. And some people are like, I'll come back next time, and they never come back. So here it's we're talking to, again, costume designers, pastors, artists, musicians, all different types of people. So as far as the little things that I was tapping into when in New York, they've expanded, our Fascinator program. We do this Mother's Day Hatter's High Tea every year where we have moms come in and they basically pick their materials for their Fascinator and we make it right there for them. There's, the collaborations have definitely expanded, as you and I were talking about earlier. We collaborated with the barbershop that's down the street from our place and had the art of hat making meets the art of shaving. So drawing parallels between two different types of creative processes, I think, is just amazing. It makes the brain explode. And, my thing is I like to tap into all senses. So touch, feel, smell. I mean, you can do everything with this except for taste it. And that's what I tell, if you taste it, you buy it. But that's also why, I keep a full bar at my place too. So we will activate all your senses, whether you like it or not. So yeah, so to answer your question, it's my creative process has expanded. Design has expanded. It's definitely kept me learning, because I wasn't an expert fascinator maker when I came down here, but damn it, I am now.
Love it. Last question. I had one up here.
Hi, my name is Kim. I just wanted to commend you on what you're doing. I'm an alum from Fashion Institute of Technology.
Love it.
From Detroit. One of our name builders there was Henry the Hatter.
Oh yeah, a legend.
In the 1800s.
Yeah.
So from MIT, I worked as a designer in the fashion industry. So it's listening to your story. I mean, when I was there, New York was very creative, very inspirational. And when I moved here, it was back in the 90s, it was like, what the heck did I do? There was no creativity here until the Olympics came to kind of change the international climate. So it's just interesting to hear the juxtaposition of how things have changed. And so glad to see that you're doing such a great job here. Secondly,
Thank you.
done something for D-Nice. What's one of the best hats that you did for him, or the one that you were most excited to do?
So,
Question is, have you made a hat for D-Nice? Thank you, so that we can get the tea today, because I want that information. Have you made a hat for D-Nice? What was it like? Tell us everything. Also, if you're unfamiliar with D-Nice, right quick,
Yeah.
this is a Google assignment if you're unfamiliar. D-Nice is a fantastic DJ, like historical, pioneering hip-hop DJ, who really rose to fame for some people during the pandemic because he was doing quarantine DJ sets on Instagram. But Google that, because I can't tell you everything. Go ahead.
So I have not made a hat for D-Nice, but my mentor does. So when D-Nice, he's been wearing hats this whole time, Worth and Worth makes all of his hats. Worth and Nick Fouquet, but the ones that you see that are just kind of like dyed and all that other stuff, that was a process that my old boss Orlando developed called color aging. And color aging, you'll see it in some of our pieces where there's just a beautiful patina going throughout different colors, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, that wide flat brim, that is Orlando, and D-Nice is a very loyal person, I will say that. But other interesting people, Michael Strahan, awesome dude. His hands are bigger than my head. If you scroll down far enough on Instagram, you'll see the awkward pose that I have with him. I'm just kind of low-key scared. But Sarah Jessica Parker is another just awesome, super fun person, super down to earth. She's New York to the core. So my place is in Tribeca, and she would just not let it go that Tribeca used to be a dump, and that she lived there when it was. And I was like, I get it. You came from something, all right? But but I would definitely say, something like, there's some people that you guys may not know. There's a woman named Stephanie Kirkpatrick, and she is a celebrity in my own right. She's a super creative architect, and she just comes in and she gets a hat almost like every 2 months, and she's always coming in with something special that she's created. She's like, Brandon, I have this belt that I made about 40 years ago. We need to put it on a hat. And I'm like, Stephanie, the hat weighs, the belt weighs more than I do. Like, the stones on this are about as big as my fist. She's like, well, you'll figure it out. And, but she's just someone who just loves to come in and kind of challenge our creativity and just, figuring stuff out. That's another thing that I love to do, is just like finding a solution to a problem. My favorite thing is when people are like, oh, you can't make a hat for me. My head's too big, or I have too much hair. And I'm like, try me. Give me your credit card and try me.
That's important. That's important. Well, we at Creative Mornings, all of our speakers, every speaker you hear is donating their time to us. So we couldn't pay you the big bucks, but we had got you some Atlanta things.
That's amazing.
Just wanted to say thank you. Please give it up for Brandon Franklin, our speaker this morning. You're amazing. Thank you. Brandon probably got to get to his hat shop in a little bit, but if we missed your question, come on down as soon as we finish. Maybe Brandon will give you a few minutes and chat with you. Thank y'all so much. Don't forget, Plywood has free passes for you on your way out. We will see y'all with Black Cat Tips March 30th. Thank y'all. Have a great week.